Our next guest is in Peru's capital, where many of these protests are taking place. Alvaro Herrada Ruiz is a political analyst with Vali Consultores, a political consulting firm, and he joins us from Lima. Alvaro, what is the situation right now like on the ground where you are in Peru?
Well, we are waiting for a national strike tomorrow. We had one first national strike last week. Protestants tried to take control over the airports in Cusco, Juliaca, and Arequipa, and the social unrest seems to escalate in the following weeks as they demand for a general election, a new constitution, and the resign of Dina Boluarte as the chief of state.
I mean, how does the current president, who you just mentioned, Dina Boluarte, compare with the predecessor, Pedro Castillo? Because that was president and vice president. So how are they so different?
Yes. Nowadays, Dina Boluarte is more popular than Pedro Castillo.
Okay.
However, both of them had really had approval ratings really low, and so did the Congress. But they are not the same. Last November, Boluarte resigned as member of Castillo's cabinet, and also resigned from the party Perú Libre. Both of them were elected as president and vice president.
So many people have died.
Also during these 2 first months. Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, but I want to ask you, because people are dying in these clashes between the protesters and the government forces. Can you explain then why have they been so violent?
Well, the level of polarization here in Peru are extremely high. Some people are arguing that we are under a dictatorship, and while other groups state that Protestants are terrorists. We have to understand that in those regions, mainly in the southern area of Peru, the presence of the state is really low. So there's no way the government can make accountable those institutions such as the police and the armed forces. And that's how they are using power over the limit sometimes.
And, you know, Castillo seemed like he was more to the left. Dina, now she's moving to the right. Many in Peru are calling for constitutional reform. So what would that look like?
Well, Dina, as you said, has moderated her speech. She's now backed by the right-wing parties at the Congress, as she included technocrats in her cabinet, and also is willing to talk with the conservative leaders here in Peru. However, the new constitution idea is not new in Peru. In 2021, only 21% of Peruvians wanted a new constitution. This percentage has increased to 40%. However, it's not the majority. If Dina Boluarte has stated that she won't promote a new constitution because she considers it's not the right time for that. And that's the way she will keep the opposition, the conservatives and right-wing parties as allies in the Congress.
You know, Peru is one of the youngest democracies in the Americas, and it seems like it's almost falling out of love with democracy because we're hearing that the people there are saying that they want dictatorship back. So what do these recent protests say about the state of democracy in that country, Alvaro?
Well, the institutional crisis is not new in Peru. This does not started with Pedro Castillo. The support of political and democratic institutions in Peru is really low. According to La poll, only 21% of Peruvians were satisfied with our institutions. But this is not only because of the institutions itself. Several public services are not satisfied, mainly in the countryside and impoverished areas in the southern regions where the protests are taking place.
Yes.
So this is related to less satisfaction with political institutions. And since the political deadlock we had with the election in 2016 between Keiko Fujimori, former President Fujimori's daughter, and PPK, the world famous banker who won that election, both the Congress and the government are in a political deadlock. Always the Congress want to impeach government, and the government threatens all the time with closing and dissolving the parliament.
Alvaro, how do you see this ending quickly? How do you think you see this ending? Because there is a lot of trouble happening there in Peru right now. Do you see any end in sight?
Well, absolutely. In the short term, I don't see a solution if the protests are not willing to discuss with the government.
Yes.
There is a lack of political leaders here in Peru. Also, we could find several small leaders here in Peru in our regions, but there is not a big party, a nationwide party trying to lead the protests here in Peru. So the government is struggling to find a speaker to talk with and discuss an institutional solution.
Or even somebody just to bring the people together, because you've had like 6 leaders over the past 5 years. Alvaro Herrada Ruiz is an analyst with Vali Consultores, and he joined us from Lima, Peru. Thank you, Alvaro.
Thank you.